unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
All right, let's see. It's going to be for June 19th. I'm Chris.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. I was about to speak for you. My bad. And I'm ready.
No, I'm sorry. I think I lagged here for a second. That's why. I heard everything pause, and then all of a sudden the theme started playing really fast.
Oh wow! Your internet was playing catch up.
Yeah, and we're all playing catch up. I'm trying to play catch up with the news today. I can barely keep up with what the hell's going on out there.
Hey, by the way, Kathleen Turner, what's up with your voice? You're husky as fuck today, man. You been all right?
Excuse me. Is that better?
It's a little bit better, yes. No, it's just you got some. Like you've been smoking some good shit. I mean. Not that we would on this podcast, but
I switched to the vape, so I don't know why my voice is sounding like that. It's been like this lately. I don't know. I think maybe my voice is just changing. You know, there comes a time in a man's life
when it's time to change.
Yeah, so I'm going through puberty too. The sequel.
Electric Boogaloo.
Wait a minute. The end of puberty is menopause, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's what you're going through. Oh, I got that to look forward to. Anyways, we started off on a silly, absurd note.
I got the partied out voice. That's what it
there
is.
You go.
Dude, you should have been there last night, man. Dude, you were a fucking rager. You missed it.
Dude, we drank so many White Claws. Oh, dude, you have no idea. It was almost like almost like back in the 90s when we drank Zima at Motor, dude. I'm telling you, it's great. Oh, that's hitting a little too close to home for some of our listeners. Right. I'm willing to bet.
So where do we want to start? There's some Supreme Court cases that were heard this week. You know, there's John Bolton's book coming out. Plenty going on with coronavirus. Trump's got his coronavirus breeding ground event that he's having.
I mean, yeah, all that. It's all just. Where are we at? Are we officially over the fact that people have been protesting, and we're kind of like moved into the, all right, we got your point. What can we do for you?
Oh no, because we're not doing anything. No, because they're not doing anything.
No, because there's a lot of lip service and pandering going on. Yeah. But I mean that comes with the territory.
Well, if that counts, then yes.
I'm talking about are we starting to enter that phase of the can everybody chill out now? Like where the corporations are going, they all release the same almost just pat statement.
Sure. Yeah, I got an email from Xfinity today telling me what they were going to do about the situation. I'm like, well, I'm glad you're on top of it.
Yeah. By the way, my internet still dropped out.
I then dusted my hands off. Yeah. I was like, well, case closed.
You got Xfinity on the case here.
Yeah.
Might as well put Ironside or fucking Dragnet on there.
Yeah, the people who can't catch me using a VPN, that's who I want on the case. But you know what? I was thinking about this today when I got that email. And I'm so sick of the platitudes. And we've been just getting them left, right, and center. Everyone that you've ever done business they have to reach out to you and make sure that you know that they're on top of COVID and they're on top of the race relations in this country and what they're going to be doing about it. And none of this really amounts to anything except for, I guess it does. It kind of amounts to something. I'm not going to call it a movement, but if we think about we grew up in the 90s, and we saw the shift of people actually starting to get on board with just recycling, water conservation, the start of the green movement. And it took a while to get going, but, when the corporations started realizing that this was a marketing advantage for them, that really did end up making a difference. They realized that we want to push our products to these people who are considering themselves to be aggressive. So we're going to, and some of it doesn't really go anywhere. They just slap green on a label or say that it's good for the environment, but it does denote a demand for that, right? And so does Xfinity, are they going to do anything to keep us from getting sick or keep black people from being abused in this country? Absolutely not. But the fact that these companies are actually willing to go there, a place where they would normally say, we don't want to get involved in politics. They're realizing that this is beyond, as much as there is still a political division on this issue, this is beyond politics.
Yeah, but to me it's hollow because you didn't care until it was going to threaten your revenue
but
stream.
You're misunderstanding me. I'm not talking about how I believe Xfinity or any other company, or I think that their intentions are good, or that they can do anything to change anything. I'm saying it's an indicator. It's like a market indicator. Like, this is a trend.
No, you're absolutely right.
That tells us that the pressure isn't going to be let off. Now, we've made some good progress with the environment, and a lot of that was because people were saying, hey, we demand this from the companies that we want to do business with. And a lot of them stepped up and did it.
Yeah, but you do have companies who aren't falling in lockstep with the I need to make a statement, and they're getting backlash, but the backlash seems to be fairly, I don't know how to put it. Okay, like Steam. Steam hasn't come out and posted anything on any social media or sent any emails out about Black Lives Matter or about COVID, actually, and what they're doing to stop it. Because Steam is just like, we're distributing video games around the world to people who want them.
Are they an American-owned company?
See, that's what I was about to get into. I'm not really sure where they're based out of.
Yeah,
let's be honest. There is a huge video game market in other countries, Japan being one of, the major one. They rival. I think they might even surpass us in how much they spend on video games a year.
Right.
And Japan, sorry, you can cancel me if you want. They don't have a great history on race relations currently. I'm not talking about X years ago. Currently. And it's the same with China. Look at little things that we take for granted. Like, you go see the last Star Wars movie, and there was a lesbian kiss in the background. You know why it was in the background?
So they could
release it to China, exactly, and not get fucked up. It's pandering. It's contrived. It's not genuine. And the scary part is I can't get a real read on who understands that, who doesn't understand that, and who just doesn't care. Because, like I said, if you've never been pandered to, it feels like I'm getting attention now. And it's genuine. Sad part is like, no, it's not. That's the problem. Like, none of these corporations are going to come out of pocket unless they feel like they can, or it's going to help their tax write-off for most of this shit. Now, I'm not saying there's not ones out there that won't do it. But, the fact that, like Aunt Jemima pulls Aunt Jemima, which I don't care about. I don't give a fuck. I think it was stupid to have her on there. Oh, like Public Enemy said, okay, she doesn't have a do-rag, now she got a perm.
Right.
Okay, so how's that supposed to fucking help me? It's still Aunt Jemima. Uncle Ben's. The cream of wheat guy, I never really saw that as like, I just saw that as a black guy cooking. I never saw it as like, cooking up some vittles for you.
Well, the thing is, like, I understand Aunt Jemima. Like, Uncle Ben. I
understand Uncle Ben's.
It's a black guy who made rice. That's all I ever thought. Hey, what? But that was the first thing I thought when I thought those two was like, wasn't this about the police?
But see, here's the thing. No, it's not anymore. Hold on, there's moved past that. That's part of it now. But it's all the pieces matter at this point.
The aunt and uncle thing are kind of essential to this, though, because those were terms that were used for live-in help.
House slaves, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's
I'm
that's
sorry,
why
you're right. I should have said house slaves. Live and help makes it sound like something totally different.
Yeah, it makes it sound like
you
a
might be getting paid.
like, oh, I'm Fran Drescher. I hate this dress.
Right.
You're kind of hot, so shut up and just.
So I get, I honestly, I haven't thought about Uncle Ben's rice ever.
Yeah.
Until probably just now. But I always assumed that the uncle was, that this had some traditions that went back to house slaves.
Yeah.
Because who else is calling an old black man uncle?
And see,
that's
here's
not
the
related
thing.
to him.
Here's the thing. That is such a. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's put shit in perspective. Let's try to understand that not everything is an equal offense. Okay, Uncle Ben's is nowhere near a cop kneeling on your neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Sure.
Okay, but we are at this point where, remember, like 20 years ago, we go, man, when these kids grow up, whew, God help us. Well, they're growing up, and you know what? They've managed to get the ear of the people who actually control this country, and that's people with the money. And they've decided to pander to them. This is the direction we're going in. You don't like it? I don't know what to tell you. Go live off the grid somewhere. This ain't going back. At least we might take a few steps back, but this ain't going back to the good old days ever. No matter, you can elect Trump this November, it ain't gonna bring the good old days back. It's just gonna make shit worse. You think the riots we've seen the last month, 3 weeks? Well, okay, first of all, stop, because I don't want to fucking be that way. The protest and then the rioters we've seen the last 3 weeks, month. Let Trump get reelected in November.
Yeah, no,
it's on.
Individually, these things don't mean anything. Even Lady Antebellum changes their name. Aunt Jemima get rid of it.
Still no apology to Alan Parsons Project for ripping off Eye in the Sky. Fuck them. Fuck them.
The removal of statues. Pelosi had all the Confederate generals removed, their portraits removed from the not the White House, what's the building she works out of, the Senate building. So, does that cure? Does any of these things cure racism? No, none of these things are going to make instigate wide sweeping change in our country. But what we're realizing is that the racism that we experience in this country is made up of a lot of little things. There's incidents where racism explodes in violence in this country, and we think that those are unique incidences, that these are abhorrent behavior from certain people. But the racism is built into the core of this country in every nook and cranny, and that's what we're trying to clear out. Like, removing somebody's portrait or statue doesn't erase them from history. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything really, except for the perception of how we want to be as a country and who we want to honor. So,
yeah, but I point to Germany. Like, Germany tries to pretend there's a few decades it didn't exist in their history. We all still know what happened.
Right, but nobody's trying. Look, we don't educate with portraits and statues. That is not where we keep our information. That's how we choose to honor certain people. It's an honor to have to be dead and have your image live on in the country. And why are we doing this for fucking losers and racists and assholes?
Absolutely.
And people who do not represent our country anymore. We are not that country anymore.
The problem is that you have people out here who are using people going out and protesting the racial strife and the bullshit that goes on in this country, which is a righteous protest. You have people who are co-opting it and coming in and doing shit like going to the 54th Massachusetts statue and defacing it with slave owners, Black Lives Matter, all this bullshit, all these slogans, and tear it down. And it's like, that's the first all-black regiment to ever fight for the North. And you just fucking, are you serious? Those are men who volunteered as free men to go fight, knowing that if they weren't killed, they would be captured and returned to slavery. And do you think they're going to get a fucking welcome mat rolled out for them? And you people are so fucking devoid of history that you go tear that shit up? I don't buy that. These are people, there is an element from the right and the left who want to see this country burn, who are trying to get their fucking fingers in this shit. And I don't care if that makes me a conspiracy theorist. I've seen it. Look at the difference between the protest and the looting and the riots.
Well, I forgot what state it was in where there was a cop that was killed by a man. I don't know. I don't know if I would describe him as a rioter, or he certainly wasn't a protester. And they're linking him to the Boogaloo Boys, which, I mean, is like linking somebody to Antifa. But
the problem is these are ideas that do take root. And if the Boogaloo Boys is a real idea that has taken root, then I can't sit here and scoff when someone goes, is Antifa in the room with you right now, Karen? Yeah, it's a funny meme and you get a giggle out of it. But ultimately, yeah, these are ideas that take hold of people. And just because they're loosely collected and they don't have they're not centrally located, they're decentralized as far as how they operate, doesn't mean that these people aren't coordinated, aren't trying to start shit. Even if it's 10 people in a mob can start some shit if they do it properly.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's called Twitter.
The CIA has made a fucking living doing this to other countries. That's why I laughed my ass off when I heard the report. The CIA said, the destabilization we're seeing currently in the United States is usually what happens when other countries are about to collapse. Oh, you should know, sweetie. What are you serious? Of course. It's from your playbook. It's from the Cold War playbook. These are people who are very fucked up, who the problem is that they're the ones that get the outrage fucking clicks. And if you really look at the shit, man, I hate to be this fucking blue sky motherfucker because I'm not that guy, but I'm watching cops go out, police chiefs in cities they're not beholden. Like, it's not like they're the New York City police chiefs. They're going to come out and give a speech and then walk off from the podium. These are going into the streets, talking to the protesters, trying to understand shit. But you don't see that as much as you see fights and blah, 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 and this and that. And it's like,
well, because no one's watching that. No one's clicking on that.
Well, we've been told for years, shut up, white people, shut up and listen. I've been listening for 3 weeks. And if I listened to the media, and the media only, this is what I've picked up. 9/11 killed irony. 2020 killed the individual. Because we're no longer individuals. We're all part of some monolithic group, and we're assigned to it unless we're a select group we assign ourselves to whatever group we want. And that's just how it is. And when the black community has spoken and the white community, did we have a meeting? Yeah. I don't remember that. And this is what scares me, because the individual is getting lost in this, and individual conversations are getting lost in this, and they're not happening. I have seen radicalization of friends of mine who were slightly right-leaning and slightly left-leaning in a matter of days in the last 3 weeks. I mean, go from maybe make a political comment here or there, you knew which way they leaned for politics, to like full-on just crazy shit. And I'm going, this is it. This is the world we live in, folks. And I don't know if we can change it at this point. There's always going to be an element who's going to get their voice heard by any means necessary. And we are right now proving that those elements work. My fear is what happens, God forbid. I don't know what I'm scared of more, Trump winning or losing. Because I think either way, his fucking followers, because it is. Trump is a cult leader, just like this woke flank bullshit. It's like a cult. I mean, you are indoctrinated in it. You cannot speak out against it. You have to agree 100% with it, or else you are excommunicated. And those people will start some shit quickly. There's my happy thought for the day.
I think we all need our internet access limited for 2 weeks so we can all chill the fuck out.
But at this point, stop people from going into the streets, though? I mean, honestly, because this has become like... This is not Rodney King's, the cops that beat Rodney King got off. We're going to riot for X amount of time and, do the gang truce, and then the police chief comes out and apologizes and let's rebuild. And a month later, we're nuts deep in rebuilding. I think this is something different, man. I really do.
I'm waiting to see signs that it is, because I'm just seeing this. Where have our leaders been in all of this? Where have any leaders been in all of this? It's kind of what we put you there to do.
it's almost like a libertarian's wet dream at this point. I mean, but it's through pure fuckery. We have no competent leaders that I can see on the national stage. Everybody's fucking bickering and fighting and picking and choosing what's going to be their pet cause in this whole thing. And then the panderers are trying to spread themselves so thin that eventually someone's going to catch you in some bullshit. And this is gotcha culture. We're in the middle of gotcha culture. While we were sitting there talking about it, like, oh, we can't let that happen. This is now what we have. I mean, they're digging up shit on people from 20 years ago. Well, this person said this. This person said this. I mean, and we're talking this person releases a statement, and 2 hours later, boom, someone's dug some shit up on them.
We are bored.
That's why I said on Sporgy, I think this was a perfect storm. This was a lot of people sitting at home, a lot of people who lost their jobs, a lot of people who couldn't make the ends meet, and all of our bread and circus was gone. No sports, no new movies. I mean, they tried. They released them, on video on demand. Hey, you can stream everything, but in 3 months, shit. You can watch a lot of shit if you're sitting at home not working in 3 months. I might have done it once or twice in my life.
I see. Aaron and I have joked on the Weisman a few times. We've all seen the end of Netflix at this point.
I mean, please don't get this twisted. I have hope. Why, I don't know. But that we're going to come out of this, hopefully, man, a more aware society. I can't say empathetic to each other because I don't know if that's in mob human DNA. When we mob up like we've done, like when we tribal up.
Right. Well, when you sunk this low, anything is progress, right? And it certainly isn't looking good right now for Trump's reelection chances. Not to say that I think Biden has a solution to, anything but being just a decent human being. I believe that he cares about people. That's how low the bar is right now.
Do you give a fuck? Yes. You hired.
Yeah. Do you generally like people?
I would almost vote for the guy that said no, but I know Trump would lie. So I love people. I give people the best loving. It's huge. Ask Sonny. Oops, did I say that? Shit.
Well, I mean, it's beyond dog whistle at this point. I mean, I think we've all said it on this podcast in the last 4 years about how, not everybody who supports Trump is racist, and a lot of them are they're always going to go for whoever's anti-abortion or just pro-religion or whatever. But at this point, if you don't understand what's going on here, then you're lying to yourself, and that's just as bad as being a full-on participator.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
What I mean is, if you're still supporting Trump, I don't care if you're a racist or not. Your actions are racist, and you're supporting a racist. I don't care if we can prove or if you feel in your heart or any of that shit.
Well,
It's a moot point at this point. A vote for Trump is a vote for racism in America. Did you see what Facebook had to censor this just today?
No.
So the Trump campaign posted, let me see, I've got the actual, okay, so dangerous mobs of far left groups are running through our streets and causing absolute mayhem. They are destroying our cities and rioting. It's absolute madness. It's important that every American comes together for a time like this to send a united message that we will not stand for their radical actions any longer. We are calling on you to make a public statement and add your name to the list of supporters, blah, blah, blah. And it's with the heading, Stop Antifa. And I have no idea why they use the symbol, an upside-down triangle that's red in the center. Same triangle that was used to identify prisoners that were sent to concentration camps in Germany.
Is that why I know what I've seen that before? When you describing it, I was like, wait, I can picture that clearly in my mind.
Yeah.
I've seen that somewhere.
Well, it also says it also was used for political dissidents like communists and social democrats. That's from Politico.
But do you see? Okay, hold on.
No.
Do you see? Okay,
or here's another example. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Not only an abhorrent statement, but a statement that was made by an actual confessed racist that was talking about black people rioting. These aren't dog whistles. These are straight up messages like, hey, draw this line. I can't say this on social media, but I can give you all the clues.
I think that statement, you can take what you want from it. I think he said that on purpose. I think that statement was constructed. Because if you hate him, you can take what you want from it, and if you like him, you can take what you want from it.
It is kind of a Rorschach test of a statement, depending on where you fall. Because seriously,
how does that make it different from anything else that he says?
It doesn't. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, God damn, even Nixon didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if Nixon crawled out of his grave right now, I'd vote for him over Trump.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
This is what scares me, is because the rhetoric. Okay, for whatever reason, people who shouldn't be beholden to these cults of personality that are these politicians feel that because someone goes, you lean to the right and I criticize Trump, I have to move closer to Trump. Why? Is it a valid criticism? If it is, let it stand. And vice versa for Biden or who the fuck ever. And here's the problem: is that I'm with you, but I think we've reached a point where the people who are just going to blindly support Trump. And by the way, this is it in history. This has been any demagogue who's in power. All right, I think they don't care because it's all about win. Go out there. These people piss me off. Go make those liberal tears flow. Yeah, that's all I care about.
They're going to dig in.
And it's like,
I'm a racist, huh?
Why did the people piss them off? Right.
Okay, I understand.
Why did the people piss them off? Because what? They support gay rights, they support trans rights, they support black rights. They want other people in this country other than straight white males to have some power.
Because you get motherfuckers who want to. What? We're going to take the stars and bars down. You're taking down my heritage. You're doing this. It's like trying to talk to someone who saw what Colin Kaepernick was doing, even though he specifically said, I'm taking a knee to protest police brutality. In fact, I'll even go so far as to say this. I'm going on a little bit of a limb. Chris, correct me if you know. I don't even think he mentioned race the first time they asked why he took a knee. I think he just said police brutality.
No, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It was about police brutality.
And people were like, that's disrespectful. He's not kneeling to but it's still disrespecting him. Does intent not matter? No, it doesn't. It's what I want to attach to him, the meaning of what he's doing. That's what matters. Okay, so we are truly in a post-facts era where facts do not matter. And it doesn't matter from what side. I feel this way. This is the facts. And you cannot get through to those people. You can't. And I don't know what else to do because Aaron, I know you lean way farther to the left than everybody else on this podcast, but I see them on both sides, and I'm scared because they're starting like there's like a gravitational pull where you like if you turn on the news, you're almost told, well, you're either a fascist or an authoritative or an authoritarian communist. Choose. Really, Fox and MSNBC? That's the only two choices I have. Are we being a little hyperbolic about the situation? Are we overstating the case a little bit? Like, there's no other choice to make? There is a choice. Fuck, I don't know what it is at this point.
I mean, one of the things we first talked about when we first started this podcast was about how life is full of nuance. Well, in fucking 5-6 years, it's gone. It's my way or the highway. It's this or it's that.
And it's very easy to get sucked into because you get a trigger subject, something that just makes you it just hits your lizard brain, and you can't let it go until you fucking post that fucking, statement on Twitter or meme on Facebook, whatever the fuck. And then it just snowballs, chain reaction.
Yeah, well...
And I mean, here's the thing. I don't know in their heart if those people are racist, okay? Are their actions kind of like, you don't care? You don't care? Like, anybody who says I'm a libertarian, but I'm a right-leaning libertarian, who was, like, not celebrating the fact that trans and gay people can't be fired because they're trans and gay. I don't know why was that ever on the table? If you're a libertarian, I don't care if you even lean to the right. What the fuck does that matter? You don't have a religious reason to be against it. What is the reason you're against it? You don't like gay people? Okay, that's fine, but aren't you a live and let live person? Though that's lost. I can't even have a conversation with friends who used to be like that type of libertarian because they're like, it's slippery slope, and I'm like, it's always a slippery slope, man.
Well, everything's a slippery slope. It just depends on if you want to go down the slide or not.
Exactly.
But when it comes to the protection for LGBTQ and this recent Supreme Court decision, the rights argument was like so weak that it was basically they were saying, well, Justice Roberts and these others were. They were being subjective. They were putting their own opinion into it, not just calling the balls and strikes like they should.
Yeah, because they stacked the umpire and crew with their guys, and they're not getting the calls they want because, whoops, maybe you actually, through pure fuckery, ended up with someone who's actually going to adhere to the true spirit of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Or no matter how you try and twist and turn it, there's really no way to interpret the law that they were looking at as excluding anyone. The whole purpose of the law was to be inclusive. So you're now going to start saying, oh, but there's certain groups that aren't protected by this. No, this is why we have the ability to change and challenge and adapt our laws in this country, because our country does the same thing. We need our laws to adapt with it. We weren't talking about trans people's rights and gay people's rights back when we were talking about civil rights. Seems like we should have addressed it all at once at the same time, but this country takes baby steps. So now we're here. I mean, there is no argument to be made to exclude anyone because of anything that they choose to do or have no choice over even.
No, well, I mean, and that's what's being lost in all this is I know it's become just, we used to joke about it. Dirty centrist. We're a dirty word, and I'm just sitting here like, no, now it's that joke has come true. Like the hatred for, if you're not in a person's camp is like, it's visceral. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. And this is what's seething right now. And this is what worries me because, like I said, the protests and then, the bullshit that happened, which, I mean, look, man, I'm sorry. If I'm wrong, I know somebody's going to fucking tell me if they care enough to. I'm talking about as far as listeners, but aren't pretty much like the riots, like, died the fuck down? I mean, there was that shooting in Atlanta and that McDonald's got burned down, but I mean, like, Atlanta didn't go up in flames. Or, excuse me, yes, the Wendy's. The Wendy's, anyways. Atlanta didn't go up in flames. No, that Wendy's did.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
You tell us a Wendy's, the flames were square.
Yeah. another white chick starting a fire? White women. Why are you so angry? Number one, white. Number two,
are you sure that
woman.
person was white? Did we see her face?
Oh yeah, I've seen clear pictures.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they actually found out. I saw pictures of like we're looking for this person. I'm like, I have no idea.
I saw pictures yesterday.
You know what it was?
What?
Karen was behind homeboy who was passed out in line, and she asked to speak to the manager. And where she ordered, and they couldn't get to the manager because they were too busy fucking.
Come on, Pookie, let's burn this motherfucker down.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was like, "Yep, I'm gonna burn this motherfucker to the ground. Don't let me speak to no manager. Give a fuck. Like someone just got killed, ma'am. I don't give a fuck. I want my spicy McNuggets.
What these white chick arsonists? It was like the other one they caught from Seattle. What was it last week?
I'm just loving that the world is starting to see. World, do you see what us white men put up with white women? Do you understand now? Do you understand? This is why white men kill their wives. A black guy will just smack the shit out of his girlfriend. A white guy got to kill that bitch. This is why.
Prank caller.
Anyways,
no, look, I here's the thing. In discussions about race lately, it's hard to even have, yes, there is nuance. Yes, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Why can't we actually get down to the nuance of this conversation? Because the other side won't even admit that there's a problem, right? So it's like you're trying to diagnose cancer with two different doctors' opinions, and the other doctor just keeps saying, I still don't see any cancer. So how can you get a consensus on how are we going to cut this cancer out?
Well, I think the other thing is God damn it, I'll come from this side. We really have created the environment, and now it's kind of come to a head where we're kind of in, like, if everything's racist, what's racist? Like, because before George Floyd, I mean, come on, we just joke and talk shit about it all the time. So now that we have come to, like, we're actually seeing real racists, now it's, for some people, they're like, we're not buying it.
Well, look, man, I'm glad that, we have a record of us doing this show, because we have, for our 100 listeners, you can go back and listen to it. We've talked about shootings that didn't involve a white cop and a black victim. We've talked about white on white and all the colors of the rainbow, all right, of police brutality. Because that's an argument now that if anyone brings up, they go, oh, you only care about it 5 years later because you just don't want to admit Black Lives Matter. And it's like, okay, just as white people saying cops kill white people too isn't an argument for the cops, you sitting there dismissing the fact that cops are brutal to people, period, that they shouldn't be brutal to, isn't helping your case. We got it. I understand. Black Lives Matter. Their argument is if there's a fire in your neighborhood, and your house is on fire, or your house is on fire, and the fire department comes to your neighborhood, they start putting it out, and your neighbor yells out, all houses matter. You're going to be pissed if they turn their hoses on your neighbor's house that's not on fire. I get that argument. I understand where you're coming from. But we can't afford to be this obtuse with each other, especially willfully. If you want real conversation, this is what I keep hearing. We want real conversations. You want real conversations, you got to be prepared to hear shit you don't want to hear, all right? You got to be prepared to hear shit that might not sit well with you the minute it hits your ear, but when you actually turn it around and look at it and try to look at it from someone else's perspective, you accept. At least their opinion. Not accept, understand, accept is the wrong word. Understand where they're coming from. Not accept their opinion, understand it. Because then you can start to have a real conversation. We have to, God damn it, I've said this for fucking years on this show. We have to humanize each other because we're dehumanizing each other right now. And this will not end well, folks. If you thought 67 was the mass exodus from Jersey and Detroit and white flight and all that shit, keep up with what's going on. Minnesota has had 18% of people that live in that fucking city's city limits put their houses up for sale in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. And the other thing is that how many of these businesses you think are coming back? I've heard a few conversations from a few companies like, we're probably just going to collect our insurance money and not open back up.
Open up a little bit farther west.
Yep.
Out of the city. I mean, that's essentially what has happened here in Detroit.
Yeah. For 50 plus fucking years, and look at what has happened. At 2020,
let us be your cautionary tale.
There are 2 grocery store chains in Detroit right now that I know. There's a Whole Foods downtown, and there's a Meijer at like State Fair and 8 Mile. Or they run parallel, but like State Fair and something. So like, yeah. And anything else that's a chain, it's downtown. generally.
Or like Eastern Market, which is a farmer's market type
Yeah.
situation. Which, by the way, things like that. See, to me, look, I get it. I understand everybody. We're focused on one issue right now. So all the branch issues that come off from the main trunk of the main issue, which is racism in this country, I get. And you want time for your little branch to get its attention. But there's bigger issues to be dealt with. How about the fact that, like we just said, there's hardly any grocery stores in the inner city. That is not exclusive to Detroit. That is exclusive to a lot of major cities that are predominantly black. Okay? People do their grocery shopping at the corner fucking store. I mean, things like that. Yeah, we talk about equality. You can't even buy fresh fruit half the fucking time, right? And that's if you can fucking afford it, because you're getting it from basically a bodega on the corner. There's issues like that. There's issues with what are we going to do about education? Okay, we want to take money from the police? Well, I don't want it going back into the bureaucratic bullshit. Put it into the fucking schools. And if you don't, I swear to God, I don't care. I don't give a fuck what letters by your name. You're the fuck out.
Yes, I mean,
you got to go.
Should we talk about DPS?
I mean, if we want change, let's do it the right way. Let's go after shit that's going to improve everybody's fucking life in the long run. Let's not think 5 fucking minutes ahead like we tend to do, because that's our attention span. Let's think 5, 10, 15. Goddamn, how about this? How about consider a future generation? Besides hoping that they do better than you. How about that?
Yeah.
How about actually trying to make a better world for the future generation?
If we do any kind of meaningful law enforcement reform in this country, it's going to take a while, and it has to take a while. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of people who are reasonably fed up with the situation in this country.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for some immediate changes. And there are some minor things that you can do, but it's a cultural problem. And if you just disband a police force and then decide to say, oh, we're not going to call them cops, we'll have social services instead. Okay, well, then somebody's got to go on a social services emergency call. Well, they should be armed, right? So we'll give them a gun, and they'll be official, so they'll be a badge. So they're not a cop, but they're a guy with a badge and a gun that shows up at your house. And if that's all you do, then the same guy, the same asshole who you don't want to be applying to be a cop is going to be a social services officer or whatever the fuck you're going to call it. And if you just dress up the pig in a different dress, you've done absolutely nothing, pun fully intended.
You're still putting perfume on a pig.
And then there's
pretty it up how you want.
And then the other part of it too is like there is a public safety function. I mean, for example, it's I feel like I don't want to be willingness. I don't want willingness into okay. Someone shows up with an AR-15 in each hand and starts spraying a protest. You sending a counselor to that?
Well, you send a negotiator, Samuel L. Jackson. I saw that movie.
Yeah, right. But I don't think anyone's trying to make a reasonable argument for you shouldn't have any type of armed protection for citizens in this country.
There's the dismantle the police crowd are it's like I'm fine with defund. You lose me at dismantle.
But see, here's the problem, Chris. It's not dismantle the police. It's like what's going on in Soyadal or Chazistan or whatever the fuck they're calling themselves. We want the police out. The minute the police get out, they start doing. And in these autonomous zones, all the shit that they were doing, the state, city, whatever was doing, they start tear down. Don't build that wall. They build walls. They have armed guards. They decide who can go where. They turn into the very fucking thing that they claim to be against.
Because civilized society requires rules, and there's always going to be people who need to enforce those rules. It's going to happen. If you want a civilized society, it's going to happen. It's going to, like you just said, it's just going to naturally happen. You just kind of said it.
Yeah, this isn't a judgment call, because don't get me wrong. If it was a bunch of the Branch Covidians in there talking about my rebel flag, I'd have to say the same shit, because y'all turn in just to authoritarians just as quick. It turns into we're trying to have a benevolent dictatorship. Yeah, that's nice. That's cute. 3 days in, remember Clive and Bundy? And their standoff, send us supplies. And everybody laughed, and let's send them dildos. Well, Chazistan's fucking calling for tofu and shit. Why ain't we laughing at them? Oh, it's because why? You're the same fucking idiots. You have no new solutions. You just want to grab power. You want to take power from the people who have it and put it in your own hands so you can impose your will on people because you feel their will has been imposed upon you. And by the way, most of these pictures ain't Black Lives Matter type protesters. These are some fucking moldy locks, ain't took a fucking shower in years, 15-year-old Birkenstock motherfuckers, and a bunch of black bloc protesters. That's what the fuck it is in these autonomous zones in the Pacific Northwest. It's a joke.
Well, I'm with you, Rich. My problem is that I've had a hard time really nailing down any specific reports of what's going on inside of there. It tends to be it's the MSNBC versus Fox that tends to report on this more. This is, because it's so sensational. And so, Fox says that it's like the fucking warriors in there and people are, extorting business owners and all this shit. And MSNBC paints it as a utopia. I can't seem to find any reasonable news sources or anybody who's had some real world experience about what's going on inside of
I'm with you there. The only thing I'm sure of is the mayor thinks it's cool and the police chief is pissed.
Well, as a concept, I'm okay with it. I think we should have more experimentation like this. I hope that more people are willing to go out on a ledge and try some shit. More power to them. I hope it doesn't end with Janet Reno smashing your front door down.
No, and look, I don't know how, to be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about it. I've just accepted. Apparently, Don Lemon said this.
You've read their demands.
Don Lemon said this in response to Dave Chappelle taking him to task in his special he dropped.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I'm over 40, so I guess I'm part of the establishment. I don't know. And I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I couldn't put into words how I felt.
Lemon said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was being interviewed. So if you go to look up Don Lemon interview about Dave Chappelle. It should be on YouTube. Okay. I don't see why they would take it down. It's like 4 minutes, by the way. You can watch it real quick. But Dave Chappelle pretty much summed it up. He's like, the streets are talking. They're fine. They don't need my voice right now. I trust y'all. Y'all are driving. Now, I don't know if I trust who's driving, but here's the deal. We just got booted out the driver's seat, folks. Us older folks, it's just all there is to it. This is the generation. Yeah. This is. By the way, this is not just millennials. This is millennials and older Gen Z. And believe it or not, even though Trump said it was a plant from Antifa, that 75-year-old guy who got shoved down and cracked his skull, and really, Antifa's trolling nursing homes for fucking their pawn division. You go in for Operation Get Behind Oldie. In full effect. Go ahead, I don't buy it. And I ain't got no love for Antifa. Fuck Antifa. Just fuck the Al-Qaeda. I don't give a fuck about either of you assholes. So, I don't know. It's just, I'm sorry. I lost it. Get off on a rant. Sorry.
It's all good.
But Dave Chappelle said, I'm very comfortable. Let them speak. And that's, you know what? I've been told shut up and listen. I've been shut up and listening. I'd like to hear more solutions. I understand we have problems, but guys, if you dump all your problems on somebody at one time, those problems on their own might be surmountable, but you should start fucking piling shit on people. People are going to go, well, fuck it then. And those could have been allies at this point.
Yeah, I think certainly there's young people have a louder voice than ever, right? The internet, social media, blah, blah, blah.
At least in my lifetime.
Yeah. But there's still our generation and boomers who are controlling a lot of the social media and internet and all that as well, right? So the voices that tend to get amplified more of younger people tend to be the ones that older people think are more ridiculous and illustrate their point more of these people don't know what they're talking about. We're going to leave our country to fucking morons.
Yeah, but here's my question, and I swear I'm not trying to be this guy. I'm just posing this question. Mm-hmm. How much of that is usually just generational bullshit? You got to take that into account. Then add what's been going on and the people who just were never going to be inclined to agree with this progressive of a, what do you call it, a movement at this point? I don't fucking know. I don't even know what you call it. What you call this? I really don't. I know that if you watch one side of the news, it's going to tell you that this is a movement and a revolution. You watch the other side of the news, and they're going to say this is like a coup d'etat, essentially. And I'm like,
well, those are the same thing. It just, yeah.
Well, I mean, but one is like a revolution. It's a people-driven revolution.
It just depends on which side you're on.
Yeah.
If you're being overthrown or if you're doing the overthrowing.
You know, and I mean, this is like real conversations. Like, okay, I don't know if you guys seen this. Fucking, of course, way to make our state look good, Ted Nugent. So they put that statue of Obama up. And, of course, Ted Nugent was feeling irrelevant, so he had to, release a statement. So he called up Fox News, and they put him on. He's like,
wait, where did the Obama statue go up? I didn't know about
North Dakota, of all fucking places. I'm like,
this was just like
really
this week?
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah. And he come out and went on Fox News and was like, "How have we not tore this shit down yet?" And I'm like,
why would you?
Because we're tearing down statues. See, these are people who are stirring the pot, trying to get everyone else to lick the shit spoon. Shut the fuck up, Ted Nugent. You've moved out of Michigan.
Willfully misunderstanding everything.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And don't get me wrong. Look, here's my problem. I have no problem with, these statues, it costs money to upkeep, blah, 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 this and that. And if the community's like, I don't want these statues in our community, okay, take them out. Now, if they have a historical significance that you could teach someone with, then let's put it in some place where we could use it as a teaching tool.
It belongs in a museum.
Whether it be a cautionary tale or you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. Let's do that. My problem is get rid of it. Never show it again. That's rewriting history. And by the way, that's right out of the chair.
No, it's not.
That's right. Okay, well, hold on, because it is whoever controls the past can control the future and the present. It is glossing over shit, just like when I was in school, I was the smart ass who was like, Columbus discovered America. And my hand went up and said, no, he didn't. Never even set foot here. He's discovered the West Indies. Okay, well, Richard, we understand, blah, blah, blah. No, but you're teaching us bullshit. Okay, you can go to the principal's office. Okay, well, I didn't want to be in here anyways learning this bullshit. So I was that kid. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, you can't just go, I don't agree with this. Get this out of here. Never talk about it again.
Right. I agree with you. Ultimately, it should be, it's a piece of art, whether you agree with what it says or not. And I don't believe, unless the destruction of it is the art, I don't believe in destruction in art. All art should be preserved. And it's a piece of historic art as well. So
even the Mountain Goats back catalog?
It should be put into a museum, ideally. But it's kind of like when you try and get your kids to clean up their room, right? And you tell them like 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've told you. And if you're not going to clean up now, guess what? All this shit's going in the trash because I'm sick of it. We've passed the point of dealing with this reasonably. That's why the statues are being torn down forcefully. We missed our opportunity to negotiate the transference of this to a museum somewhere where we could preserve it and we could understand it in context and say, yeah, we made a statue to this guy and here's what we know about him. And here's why he's problematic. And here's how he's still important to American history. That statue being in a park getting shit on by a dove does none of that shit. It does nothing. It's blending into the background. Nobody even notices this shit until somebody starts to point it out.
Thank you. And that's the reality of the situation.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at homedepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Reinvent yourself at UCLA Extension. Explore continuing education programs to enhance and expand your skill set. Gain real-world skills taught by industry experts that you can apply immediately. Learn from anywhere and choose from a wide variety of online courses in entertainment, digital technology, business, engineering, and more. Winter quarter begins January 4th. Learn more at uclaextension.edu.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
I guarantee you most people of all colors walked past a lot of these things and had no fucking idea who that person was, and nor did they give a shit. And that's what I'm getting at. Now it's like, okay, those type people, sorry, I don't want them behind the wheel. Now, if there's someone who actually has a firm grasp, even just a nodding acquaintance with history, and it has a desire to learn more and to actually move us forward instead of go, let's do what we used to do, which is, it used to be the evangelical right saying, ban that song, ban that movie, take that down. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. And it was to push back against them, which was rightfully so. There should have been. That you don't want this shit? Don't put it in your house. You can do whatever the fuck you want in your house. You can worship whoever you want. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But you can't tell other people how to fucking live. I don't want that for the other side, coming from the other side. All right? Sorry, maybe it's because I've been listening to too much Public Enemy lately, but Chuck D did say it right. Watch the hand when it comes from the left, because it doesn't mean that you're fucking friends. And there's people on the left who are not interested in America's best interest. They are interested in tearing it down. The same as the Boogaloo Boys want to tear it down and rebuild it back to some good old days that's in their mind that never existed in the first place. I'm not with either of that shit. That's what I'm afraid of. Those people are the ones leading the charge.
Ironically, I think book burning's next.
Well, we don't have to burn. We don't have to burn the books. We just remove them.
Well, so we're already.
I don't know what you're basing that on, because look, the destruction of a statue is not. It's nothing
based
to do with
on.
the
There's a whole
erasure of
group
history.
of people out there where if you don't agree with them, you're fucking. We get rid of the things that we disagree with. So I'm sure they're coming for a few books.
Well, I mean, that's not even. That used to be the religious rights bread and butter when it come time to pass around the plate. We need you to give us your money so we can get these books out of school. They're reading Slaughterhouse-5 and Catch-22 in 1984 and all this subversive literature. Now we get rid of Huck Finn and To Kill a Mockingbird, which...
Well, I'm saying we do it with TV shows and movies. What say books are sacred?
Exactly. Where does it stop? There has to be people who are going to stand up and go, I
kind of analogous, but we're talking about the actual history. We're not talking about just culture. You know,
they're intermingled to the point everything's intersectional now, and I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. Everything's connected to everything else. We are living through everything. If one thing's racist, the fruit from the poison tree. That's what we're living in right now. Look at the news and tell me we're not, and I'm just going to look at you and go, then I don't know, we're not watching the same news. It's not going to stop. Okay? It's going to keep going. You got to decide for yourself where you're going to stand and go, okay, wait a minute, you don't go past this. I can't let you erase entire albums and movies from history on my watch because you don't like something that was said in it. I mean, right now you got two guys. You got Michael Imperioli and Steve Shapiro. I mangled his last name. From The Sopranos, doing a rewatch, and they're on their 10th episode or 11th episode of their first, the rewatch through, and they're doing a podcast, and they're sitting there every time like, we're just waiting for them to come and tell us that they're going to take it off HBO because problematic language, problematic scenes, problematic this. And everybody was laughing at him till HBO took Gone with the Wind off.
Oh, well, to be fair, they removed it for less than a week, and
I'm not defending Gone with the Wind. I mean, I guess artistically it's like Birth of a Nation. Solely on a technical level, it was a breakthrough at the time, but I'm not defending the subject matter, but you don't want it on HBO, that's fine, but to take it off and be like, we don't know if we're going to bring it back.
No. They stated that they removed it from the service with the intention of having they were going to record a segment with some history professor or somebody like that will put the movie in context.
I'm picturing an exec at HBO going like, give me that black science guy they make memes with. Yeah, have him talk about race before. There we go. Just have him talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but what happened to like
put a like in his face? He'll talk.
But what happened to like we're adults and let us make the decisions for ourselves? I choose not to watch it. I can choose to watch it. I can choose to take it how I want. Like,
look, you are an adult and you can choose to skip the intro that puts the movie in context. What's the harm in putting a short little piece that says, "Hey, here's where we were at a country with slavery and racism in this country, and here's." Because
I think that's kind of a 2020. I think that's kind of a given. Like we're back to pandering.
Is it? Wait a minute. Why is it? What's a given? That people would that
movie's obviously made for it's a period piece. It's a Civil War era. We know how shit was in the Civil War. Like, isn't it understood at this point? Hey, it's not like it was in 1862.
By whom?
I don't know, general rational adults that are alive in 2020. It's not 1862 anymore. Things have changed. We could perhaps watch the movie and figure that out ourselves.
Oh, we could, but I don't understand what harm is being done by putting it in context.
What harm's being done by not putting it in context?
Chris,
you're the one arguing against it, so tell me what's the harm.
Chris, let me say this real quick, because I don't know if you guys had family members that used to watch AMC back in like the late 80s, early 90s, but like my grandparents did and my dad did. And there used to be an intro before the movies, and this guy would sit there in a suit. I cannot remember his name. He was an older guy, and he would literally do what you're saying. He would put the movie in context of the time it come out, and he would explain. He would explain, like, I mean, even something as benign as King Kong, the stop motion. He'd be like, and he'd explain the history of it and how it's important to where we got today.
Yeah. So instead of watching this and going, why would anybody watch these shitty effects, or why would anybody watch a movie with open racism in it? This is ridiculous. What value is this? That little intro is saying, hey, this does have value, and here's why it still has value, and here's why, some of the things that happen in this movie or whatever piece of art it is might seem totally alien and foreign to you today and completely backwards, but this is where we were. There's absolutely no harm done in context. The harm of not putting something in context is having people then write it off as something that we should then get rid of.
That's the people that, I'm sorry. I don't care if I offend you. It's not sorry, not sorry. No, I'm just not sorry. And I'm not apologizing for not being sorry. If you're for tearing down history, you're for erasing entire swaths of history, I don't care what side you're coming from. I got a problem with you. And there might be a misunderstanding.
I would never support the burning of any book, not even Mein Kampf. I mean,
exactly. I mean, if you can't handle the art you're watching, first of all, be glad that you're watching good art because it elicited that response from you. And it's not this banal bullshit that most of us we fucking are used to shoving in our faces nowadays. 2, go create art and counter the point that art's trying to make. Make a fucking YouTube video, start a podcast, write a fucking blog, explain the counterpoint and put it in context that you fucking see it in. It's art. It's subjective. This is where I will say your feelings, they don't trump the facts of the making of the art, but there's no factual interpretation of a lot of art. Your feelings do matter. this is where you could fucking go in and have something to do with this shit. And this ain't a very popular stance, but I think a lot of what we're going through is this tribalism. It's the internet, it's social media, it's the polarization of the country. But I think a lot of it also goes back to the shit that made us feel good in school. They took out of school: art, music. And that's where I'd go in. I remember the first time I went into a music class when they told us we got a drum set. And this was in grade school. And there was 4 kids that showed up. Me, another white kid, and 2 black kids. But at the time, I didn't see it as that. I just saw it as 4 of us who wanted to play fucking drums. And yeah, that's all it was. You know, and we liked the same beats. So I was like, oh, that beat's cool, man. You know, when a teacher would play it or whatever. Same thing with other forms of art. It humanizes the others.
It is building up your emotional intelligence, your empathy, your communication skills. Having art and music as part of your education is essential to that. And look, I'm not against organized team sports, but they don't do that. They might give you a community, but really they're just organizing you and pitting you against some other kids. It's not the same thing.
It teaches selflessness,
and I'm not saying that there's no space for sports. I think that there needs to be the availability of all those things to kids, because ultimately what kids need is opportunity to experience as many things as they possibly can in a safe environment.
Exactly. And I think a lot of that's been lost on our watch. Now, whether it's because, one, we don't have kids, 2, our kids aren't the right age for it to affect them and for us to see it. But I mean, these are things that, like, we're going to have to talk about. Yes, I get it. I understand. STEM is very important. It's more important. Ultimately, to keep the trains rolling on time and the food coming in, we need STEM over beautiful music and wonderful movies. I understand that. But eventually, if we're going to tackle everything, because everything's intersectional and everything is connected and all the pieces matter, and you want to tackle art at the same time as you want to tackle systemic racism, however you want to lens view it through, then you open that can of worms and you got to be ready to deal with the consequences. And part of the consequences is you're going to meet some people who are going to have resistance to, no, you're not taking that down. Yes, if you have a platform and you don't want it on there because you're a corporation, do so.
Sure. But right, and when I was talking about context, like, so let's take Mein Kampf, for example. Do I believe that books should be wiped from history? No. It's important to the history of the world, and it should be preserved. Do I think it should be in the school on the shelf where somebody can just pull it off and start reading it? Absolutely not. This is something that should be taken in context. If somebody is, actually, interested in it because of for historical reasons and is reading that material, with a teacher or somebody supervising them, somebody they can talk through it with, then that's fine. But there are instances where, in order to preserve the things of our past that we would mostly rather forget about, the darker parts of our past, we have to have some sort of context to put them in.
Absolutely. And I think for the most part, this is where us nerfing the world for, the last 20 years or so, through pure fuckery, we end up in a better spot than we probably would have been talking about having Mein Kampf. You want to have Mein Kampf? To me, that's a college level book. That's a book you have to have a professor who's going to lay it out for you and explain it to you. And see, to me now, if I was in high school, when I was in high school, if they'd have said that to me, I'd have took that as an insult. I said, what, you don't think I can understand the context and the history behind it? Fuck you. Don't fucking, you're calling me stupid. But you got kids today that I make a quote in front of someone who's in their mid-20s to early 30s, war is peace and ignorance is strength. And they go, and I'm like, you know the quote. And they go, no, I don't. You never read 1984 in high school? No. Really?
I mean, never did either.
Really?
I still haven't, yeah.
Wow, okay. But to me, that's a high school level book. That's a book you would read if you're going to read it because someone made you, it's going to be in high school. You're not going to wait to go to college to read that book. You're expected to know that. When they say Orwellian, it's like going to film school and you don't know when they say Kubrickian. You better know what the fuck that means. That means Stanley Kubrick. If you don't, what the fuck you doing in film school? I'm here because I like Kevin Smith. Oh, well then just point a camera at people talking and just film. Yeah, I mean, it worked for him for the first 6 movies he made. You know, like I can save.
Just don't cut off the tops of their
grand.
heads.
Yeah, exactly. And use all your friends as extras. Just give them a bad dye job and send them in there and film it in black and white so they don't notice. But I mean, like, look, man, this is how I kind of feel. I feel like I don't even know where to comment on a lot of the shit that's going on as far as this, what seems to be high-speed internet speed compared to the glacial speed that shit used to change. That we were used to, which I'm sure seems like, rocket ship speed to our grandparents. I mean, as the world gets smaller, everything gets quicker. Shit's immediate. If it happens on the other side of the world, you can watch it live as it happens. That's just the nature of the world we live in. And I want to say, like, I hold some conservative values, but like hardcore conservatives, you're on the clock. And it's ticking down. I really think this shit is. You're going to have to fucking understand. I mean, just like, bear with me for a sec. The coronavirus has shown the government that, oh shit, when people are out of work, we better give them money so they can put it back in the economy. Oh, you mean if you give poor people money when they have nothing else, they'll spend it on what they need, which will put money in the pockets of the people. Basically trickle up economics. The exact antithesis of what we've been trying for going on 40 plus fucking years in this country. Yeah. See how that works? I mean, like, just little shit like that. I think we're kind of at that point where if Trump gets reelected, everything's off the table. I'm not even going to make a prediction on what's going to happen afterwards. If he doesn't, there'll be the usual outcry, the bullshit. For the most part, they're older people that they'll wear themselves out, go home and find Murder, She Wrote on whatever fucking channel they watch that on, and that'll be the end of it. And then after Biden, we're going to see a different Republican Party, especially if Trump loses, and we're definitely going to see a more progressive Democratic Party. If you're a Bernie bro, the last 3-4 weeks been music to your ears, because to me, we throw a temper tantrum, whether or not, and I'm not saying that necessarily as a negative thing. I mean, literally, that's what protesting and riots are. We're upset. We're going to let you know it. You do it loud enough. You do it with enough righteousness. You'll get people to listen in the government. And congratulations, because we couldn't do it.
Well, here I come in. The cold shower.
The
cold shower of cynicism.
All over my party.
No, the cold shower of cynicism. When change will really happen? When the people who vote consistently do shit. Right, let's be honest. You know what this is? You know why we probably haven't seen any action from our leaders, any real action? Because they're probably looking at it, this is all the age group that maybe they vote, maybe they don't.
I can agree that they're giving lip service to that age group, and they're like, but don't promise too much just in case they actually do vote.
If the streets were full of 40 and 50-year-olds, politicians would give a lot more shits.
But see, we had the streets full of fucking 40, 50-year-olds at the Capitol, and it was we were the laughing stock of the fucking country.
I'm talking en masse. I'm talking on the scale we're seeing the young people in the streets right now.
Okay, I mean, that's definitely a valid point. I mean, there's a lot.
Well, that's the only way that Trump can win is if
a lot of young people not working at the moment right now, by the way.
Yeah.
40 million Americans out of work. Younger and poor people affected mostly. They got time to do this shit.
Yeah, you notice that. Well, it's true. It's also there's a narrative, but you notice, you notice when they're showing all these protesters and whatnot. It's not exactly a lot of people our age. A lot of non-gray hair, a lot of unwrinkled faces.
A lot of balls that don't dip into the water.
Yeah, when you good. Good, because I really don't care what my generation has in store for the future anymore.
Why? You're part of them. You
anymore.
Should. Why? We're the ones who show up to the polls. Like I hear you with the good, but if half of these people don't show up, what the fucking matter?
But if only Gen Xers and older were interested in change, then I would say, well, then it's not going to be lasting change. If we want lasting change, then that's where it has to come from, the younger generations.
And I agree. Show up, assholes.
If they don't show up, Trump wins.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how somebody is willing to spend their time out there protesting and not actually show up at the polls. I don't. I'm sure that person exists. I don't know what goes on in their brain.
My 19-year-old sister-in-law was here screaming "No justice, no peace" for 3 weeks, and then realized she wasn't registered to vote. That's
so she's got time.
Yeah, no, but I want to know how many of these people you can make a lot of noise if you don't take action. When it's time to take action, you're not getting your change. That's what worries me.
Your point is correct, but I'm not sure where your criticism is directed to, because you don't have any actual proof other than your
I do. Look who's in the White House.
That was
young people staying home.
No. That I'm saying you have no proof that the people who are protesting aren't voting. You're assuming these things.
Historically, they do not vote. Historically, was it people under 35 do not vote that much? So it's all well and good, but there's a time that's coming to take action. Please take action. Otherwise, just make people like me right. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, well, they don't vote on a regular basis. They also don't find the need to go out and protest in the streets on a regular basis either. These are exceptional times.
I don't know. Occupy. There was Ferguson. There's been a few protests in the last 10 years. Wasn't Occupy
That's pretty weak compared to what's going on right now.
Okay, but I'm waiting for change. I'm waiting for solutions. I mean, the reason I have no faith in these things is because of Occupy. That was the first time people were chanting the revolution word. It actually looked like something might happen because half the country was in financial ruin.
Why is that? That wasn't some turning point. That was just a failed movement. That wasn't the first time that anybody in this country or this world has used the words revolution or tried to push for some sort of change. So I don't know why you'd use that as a yardstick.
Because it just shows me that this age group will peter out.
I don't know why you'd use that as a yardstick to measure a whole generation either.
It's the historical example I got. It's just, if it doesn't affect middle America, it doesn't change in this. It's with anything in this country. The key to anything is getting through to middle America. Whether you're trying to get elected, you have a band, you make a product, and to me, to middle America, this is stuff going on in the cities. It doesn't affect them.
You think?
Absolutely. I mean, just look at the news cycle. How the news cycle's already moved on.
From what?
From all this.
What's all this? Race?
Yeah.
It's all over mine.
Okay, my first three stories, the DACA decision, the Facebook thing, Bolton's book, Newsom tells everyone in California to wear a mask, about the Trump rally, people are assuming a risk.
So we don't care about race anymore. We had our couple of weeks with the issue and now we're over it.
It's generally with anything. And the protests have stopped being the lead story on the nightly news.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Estar adelante de mis pagos mensuales siempre fue un desafío y no creía que hubiera otra forma de manejar mi dinero. Solía pagar cargos por cada cheque de cajero y giro postal, hasta que escuché sobre Chase Secure Banking. Ahora puedo pagar servicios, cobrar cheques y enviar dinero, todo por un cargo mensual por servicio de $4.95. Así que decidí darle una segunda oportunidad a la banca.
Visita chase.com/Secure Banking para abrir tu cuenta sin depósito mínimo. Chase, logra más con lo que tienes.
Se aplican cargos por ATMs que no pertenecen a Chase. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. miembro de FDIC.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
3 weeks ago, all you saw was shit on fire on every channel. In
There's
every
not
article.
shit on fire right now.
Well, besides one Wendy's.
Right.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, I had to step away for a sec. Did you guys talk at all about the Atlanta thing?
No.
Okay. Here's what I find interesting. Over the last several weeks, I've watched at least a dozen videos of people making the case for tasers are non-lethal weapons. Then this happens with this guy. Story I heard, grabbed the taser, ran from the cops, turned around, pointed the taser at the cops shot him.
Right.
Now he's being charged with felony murder. But the state of Georgia declared tasers a non-lethal form of getting submission from a suspect. What is it? Are they lethal or are they not? Because now I'm starting to hear well, they're more lethal. Like 32% of, no, actually I think it was like 22% of African Americans who get tasered will die, and like 19% of whites. And I'm like, okay, if it's 19 to 22%, can we call that a push?
Well, this is what I keep going back to, though, in this situation. If I have a gun and a taser, and somebody takes my taser and points it at me, I would consider that to be life-threatening, because if they tase me, I would assume that the next step would be to then take my gun and shoot me with it.
If he was the sole cop on the scene.
Yes, absolutely.
Problem is that, and the counter argument, which is understandable, but there's a counter to that counter argument from a Navy SEAL nonetheless, is, adrenaline split second. Mm-hmm. And there was a former Navy SEAL on Joe Rogan, and he brought it up to him, and he goes, look, we have a very high rule of engagement bar set. Every piece of brass that comes out of our weapon has to be accounted for, wrote a report on, et cetera, et cetera. They're called after action reports.
Right.
Navy SEALs train 18 months for a 6-month deployment. And they're doing a lot of door-to-door, dealing with civilians. You don't know whether they're possibly enemy combatants in disguise, whatever the deal is. So he was comparing it to police work, and he goes, your average cop gets what? Less than 1,000 hours of training total? And that's all police academy, all training before here's your badge, here's your sidearm, go fight crime, Batman. He's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And he brought up a lot of the same points we brought up. When the last show we did, when Chris, you asked Aaron, what could we do? And he's like, defund. First of all, I kind of agree with Bill Maher on this. Defund the police is a horrible slogan. It's like gay marriage. Just call it marriage equality, and more people will get on board with it. Yes, I understand that it doesn't mean anything different if you say right? No, but
gay marriage, etc. Gay marriage to the average American sounded like it was going to make their marriage more gay.
And it's the same. For whatever reason, these people just need to understand. Like, can we pass out thesauruses with the next stimulus check,
right?
So people can understand that sometimes two separate words can mean the same thing. But whatever.
Nope, it's all or nothing. Remember.
But I mean, then you do have the the Minneapolis City Council unanimously voted to abolish the police,
mm-hmm.
And that's like, before you start saying that shit, you better have an idea what you want to replace it with, because you're going to get a lot of blue fever and people jumping ship like rats jumping a sinking ship, transferring out to the suburbs, transferring to the county, moving out of state, finding another PD to work for.
Right, but here's the thing. We make a lot of assumptions about what would happen without cops, but we don't know because we've never done it. There's not enough experimentation in this country. Our country is structured to be experimental, to develop change in states that, if it works, would spread to the whole nation.
And generally around the world, there aren't really much examples. Most civilized societies are going to have cops, some type of policeman.
Is it truly not knowing what happens with no police, or is it knowing what happens with? Because we know what happens when you have not enough police. They're underfunded, undertrained. You get Detroit. You make a call. It might be 45 minutes. It might be 2 hours before they show up, if they show up at all. They have a 20% homicide closure rate. That's not conviction, by the way. They close the case, send it to the prosecutor. 20 fucking percent. You want to kill somebody? Apparently go to Detroit city limits. You're going to get away with it. I mean, 80% chance, those are good odds.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie LaDuff come out and broke it down. He's like, I'd talk with people. Charlie LaDuff's family half his family's black. He's like, I've talked, and they're like, no, we need more police, better trained. And one of the things that I think has been overlooked is that a lot of police departments no longer have residential requirements. You don't have to live in the neighborhood that you're policing. So you're going to get those Rambo types. You're going to get those types who go, yeah, I want to put my 2 years in the war zone and go work the east side of Detroit. And that's not the attitude you want with police.
No, but when you're constantly desperate for bodies, then you're going to take those assholes.
Exactly.
Detroit used to have a residency requirement, and I believe they got rid of it because they couldn't staff enough, and then B, it just led to tons of guys just having dual addresses. Oh yeah, it's great.
Oh, absolutely. I have a friend from back in the day whose dad lived not even a mile across Telegraph and used an old mailing address in the Detroit city limits. And he just, whatever. They sent it, he had direct deposit, all that shit, so he didn't care. Anything that got sent there was from the police department, and whoever he had the address with, they call and go, you got mail, and you go pick it up. I mean, that was common practice. That wasn't even a dirty little secret. That was just how it was. You don't want that. I mean, I stand by my statement. Get these fucking cops out of these cars and have them walk a beat in these neighborhoods when, if at all humanly possible, know the people you're working with. Build rapport, build trust to where you show up, a crime's happened, you can go talk to these people, that to stop snitching shit because we automatically see you as the enemy. Maybe you've breached that and you can get past that with these people. It is fucking possible, man. It is. We used to do it in this fucking country. And I'm not trying to say in the good old days, the neighborhoods were segregated. Usually the police department was overrun by people predominantly from that neighborhood, but maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm listening to black people tell me that white people, you can't come in our neighborhood and police the neighborhood the way we need you to police it because you don't understand our culture. I have to take you at your word for that. So what's the solution? Obviously not more white cops from the suburbs. I mean, there's I think it's going to be well, shit, I say generational, but shit seems to be changing in 5-year spurts at this point. I think it's going to be at least 5 to 10 years before we start seeing these cities that are trying to completely reinvent their police departments, before we see the fruits of the seeds they're planting. And it could be rough. And you're going to have a lot of people.
It's going to, and it's going to be constantly declared a disaster if anyone tries to make any meaningful change. Anytime any little thing goes wrong, anytime any single murder or crime happens, you're going to see what happens, see.
And here's the other thing. It might not look the same everywhere. Are we ready? Are we ready for that?
Well, I mean, our tribalism is, I've never seen it this bad in my lifetime. And it seems like a lot of people who are a lot younger than me and a lot of people who aren't that much younger than me are okay with it.
Well, no, this is about regions, not tribes.
Tribalism.
I'm saying you don't police the countryside like you police the inner city.
No, and you don't police fucking Brightmoor like you police Boston Edison in Detroit. One's a fucking ritzy-ass neighborhood in the middle of Detroit, and one's a fucking white trash, shithole. I mean, I understand that, but that's the problem. Tribes, I don't necessarily mean tribe by the way you look. I mean, Jesus Christ, if you've ever lived in the hood, man, you got motherfuckers who are willing to fight over what block they live on. And I'm like, y'all motherfuckers renting.
Yeah.
You don't even own shit on this block. Why are you fighting over this shit? The fuck? Should be 2 old Jewish guys out here fighting in the street.
Right.
West side, the best side. Like, all right, go fiddle on a roof, man. What the fuck you want from me? I don't know. Here's my rent. Get out of my face. Like, seriously, it's ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have divided into subcategories and subdivided. We're like fucking metal. There's stoner metal, doom metal, power metal, hair metal, new metal. I mean, we're just like all over the fucking place. And that's the reality of it. Look, man, Look at the younger generation. Look at the culture, that's being directed at the younger generation. Look at the culture they eat up. Look at what they say they want more of. This is the new reality, folks. We will die off. These people will get old. And granted, I guarantee you some of these people will fucking go, wow, I was stupid when I was 25 and thought that. Because we all do that. But a lot of them also won't. And so it goes. That's the way the world's going to keep turning, man. It's the way shit is. I mean, that's why it's keep America, make America great, all this bullshit. I hear all these fucking slogans coming from the right, and I'm like, motherfucker, you understand that the horse barn is empty, right? These motherfuckers are gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be upset about. Shut the fucking door and start over again.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rich. You were saying this earlier, and you didn't phrase it exactly like this, but I think this is the last hurrah for the people in this country that think that America was built for white people, that America was built for Christians, that their quote unquote traditional values have some deeper meaning that's tied in with religion, and they're a dying breed. This was their last chance to get anything done, and Trump's going to get voted out, and they're going to start dying off in droves.
But I feel like we were saying the same thing 20 years ago about World War II, about the greatest generation. I feel like we were saying like the exact same things.
Well, look what's happened. What were we saying about the greatest generation?
That's the exact same things you just said. Like, this is it for them. Their way is dying off. And yet here we are 20 years later talking about a different group of people with the same kind of ideals.
Okay, but I would go back. You said it yourself.
No, but they did die off, and we did move on.
Yeah, you said it yourself one time, Chris, that, look at how much culture has changed in that period of time. Once people started saying, okay, this is pretty much the final, coming around the home stretch for this generation, and their values being the predominant values of the time.
Yeah,
we have marriage equality. You can get away with a fuck of a lot more on TV. I know this shit seems trivial. Legal weed. I mean, this shit may seem trivial, but it's all things that happened after they were ending their watch, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, like, they seem, to us now, they seem insignificant, but remember the euphoria you felt when they were like, medical marijuana has passed. You were like, Chris, I know you were like, motherfucker, I can't wait to invent an illness to get my card. I am fucking there. You're showing up like, I got Legionnaire's disease. He's like, that's a respiratory disease. You don't want to smoke weed with that. Fine, I'll eat edibles. Just give me my fucking card. Hurry up. Come on. I got to be high.
It took him half a decade to loosen up the rules, but yeah.
There's a Ren and Stimpy marathon coming on. Come on. Need my shit. I mean, seriously, it's already happened. Look, whether you're passing the torch or not, eventually we're either going to drop it or we got to hand it to somebody. And at this point, it's like, look, I don't trust, like I said, I'm with Dave Chappelle. I just don't have as much trust in where they're driving us, because I think we're going to have to avoid some major fucking potholes in the road that we could easily get sucked into. And I mean, I like I said on Sporgy about, Colin Kaepernick. Earl was asking, why hasn't Colin Kaepernick spoke out? He took a knee over this. This is his perfect time.
That's me.
Oh, that was you that said? Well, I think you and Earl agreed on that. My point is that I brought up, I said, I think he's laying back in the cut because either he's smart enough to, or he's smart enough to surround himself with advisors who are telling him it's not the time. Because if you step out and become the face of this, yes, that'll give all the people in Black Lives Matter a figurehead to rally around, but it'll also give your detractors a figurehead to tear down. And it changes the conversation. But he's
right. What would he possibly gain from that? Unless his desires were to be the face of a political movement.
But he already was.
Right. To a degree. And then I think he realized that he didn't want that to be the sum total of his life. Like, he wanted to take a stance, and I appreciate that. But when that stance turns into that's all people will remember you for,
well, I think
that may have changed his
I think that ship's kind of sailed there.
No, it may have, but that doesn't mean that they're not trying to still course correct it and salvage something of a sports career for this man.
I also think there's another option we haven't discussed. Maybe when the rubber hit the road, he pussed out.
I mean, who knows, man? I mean, first of all, the dude's a world-class athlete. He was on the cover of Men's Fitness and shit. So, I mean, like, if that's how saw him without a shirt on, I'm like, that's not a motherfucker that decided to get into shape because he got hired to do a Marvel film. This motherfucker's been doing that shit forever. So he's just going to be in good shape. Now, whether he's in play-in shape, who knows? And maybe he's looking in the mirror going, yeah, you come back now, you might make an ass of yourself, and you know his detractors will. The first fucking time he overthrows somebody, see? Garbage. Where's Chad Henne? Like, I don't know. In a rocker in an old folks home? Are you serious? I mean, let's be honest, man. How many times on Sporgy did we say once the bullshit finally fucking subsided, and he was no longer on a team, and we were seeing all these bullshit motherfuckers who hadn't even been in the NFL for 3 years and thrown a pass in 5 in a game, in a meaningful pass, where we like, come on, Kaepernick's got to be better than this guy. Orlovsky ran out the end zone. That motherfucker was gainfully employed in the NFL after that. Kaepernick took a knee. Like, really? I'd rather have Kaepernick than Orlovsky. At least he knows where the end zone's at.
And I just wonder, too, like now, I think we were talking about this before Aaron joined us. Like, how hollow does signing him look now, though? Like,
that's another problem.
Wasn't good enough last 3 seasons? Oh, and all of a sudden now he's good enough? Like...
He's going to be seen as the token. That's just all there is to it by a certain segment of the population. And you know what? If you're a professional athlete who's played at the highest level of your sport, I'm pretty sure you should. I hope you got thicker skin than that, because I mean, he's been called worse, I'm sure, before now. Called a token? Yeah, I'm a token that's making $5 million riding the bench. I'm fine with it. I'm a token who's in the NFL. You're a token who's sitting there jerking your fucking soft ass dick because the Cialis ain't kicked in yet. So yeah. Go in there and sexually disappoint your wife for the worst 18 seconds of her life. Go ahead, buddy.
I feel like we're off track.
Sorry.
I was regimented. We can't be off track.
Yeah, exactly. You guys aren't sticking to the regiment. Just saying. No, guys, I'm sorry. We missed last week. I really want to do last week. I've just seen so much potential for positivity and actual progress, but then I see all the same old bullshit fucking roadblocks, and I'm just like, oh man, are we gonna do it this time? I feel like that line from P. Cells. If there's a new way, I'll be the first in line, but it better work this time.
Yeah,
I mean, I really do. And I mean, I'll tell you this, and I said this on Sporgy, and I've said this to white friends of mine, and I mean it. Eventually you have these conversations, and someone eventually goes, man, I'm so sick of talking about racism. I'm like, bro, if you're sick of it and it doesn't even affect you on a day-to-day basis, imagine the motherfuckers it does affect. Yeah. Imagine how sick of that bullshit they are. So I'm not saying you got to fucking, and I mean, and that's the other thing. And this is a whole nother, we could have a whole nother show on this, but I just want to say that one of the things I'm worried about is that personal responsibility is going to get lost in all this. That this will further the culture of nothing is ever your fault. It's everything that's happened to you that's shaped you into this. You can't help it. Look,
dude, that's been a dirty phrase since we started this show.
Well, no. I mean, but like for real, like where it's just no personal responsibility just doesn't exist for whole swatches of the public. And it's like, no, I can't do it, man. I'm not going to sit here and say that, yeah, I believe Jesus came back from the dead and you can live in the belly of a giant fish for 40 days because it's bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and agree with the bullshit coming from the other side. There is personal responsibility that takes place. Yes, just like having an addiction. They'll tell you this in any meeting. You are not responsible for the disease you have. Now, whether you agree addiction is a disease or not, that's the way they're going to say it. But you are responsible for your recovery. And if you can't handle that, jail's institution and death awaits you. Have a nice one. And maybe we need some tough love like that on coming out the other side of this. Like, okay, we got some change, but guess what? With responsibility or with change comes responsibility, and you have to take responsibility. You have to hold yourself responsible. And I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about.
That'll probably be the rub.
Well, I mean, and I'm not talking about any particular group in particular, because I know someone's like, oh, you talk about black people, you talk about white people, talk about no. I'm talking about everybody. Like, seriously. The bullshit needs to stop. You need to admit the truth about yourself. If you like to go online, you like to fight, you like to stir the shit pot and try to get others to lick the spoon, you do that. But just understand, don't do it under the guise of, I'm trying to change hearts and minds, because you're fucking not. You just want to argue. You want to go say something snarky and then slink off into the anonymous internet. I get it. Do it. But be honest about it. Because that's the only way to me, that's the only way we're going to even start to take the first baby steps of getting over this shit. Which, by the way, I don't know if we'll ever be capable of getting over it. We might just get better about it. But I don't have any faith it's going to be in our lifetimes. But we got to be the ones to start taking baby steps. Just like the civil rights movement laid the groundwork for what came after it, just like art and the counterculture and the subcultures in the late 60s and 70s, and especially the disco era, brought LGBT people to the forefront and put their issues out there. Okay, yeah, those people might not have voted for gay marriage when they got older, but you know what? When they were younger, they helped lay the groundwork for those first few steps. That's what we got to do, because this shit's going to tear this country apart. And I'm personally pissed off that shit that did not happen on our watch has spawned this, and there's nothing we can do to hold anybody responsible because everybody's dead. So it's like, are you shitting me? We got to clean up somebody else's mess? But then I think, isn't it just what America is? Just one generation passing their fucking dirty laundry to the other one going, not too much starch in the collar, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we didn't start the fire.
Buzzing. But truthful.
You know what? I wasn't trying to be Billy Joel, I swear to God. A bottle of red, bottle of white.
Oh.
Yeah, I went obscure. I went B-side. I went New York State of Mind. That's what's up.
Thought we wrap it up. Oh, man. All right. Well, once again, the news coming fast, furious at us. The news fire hose, if you will. There you go. And it's the news bukkake, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure that's racist somehow. But anyways, we're at Unregimented Pod on Twitter. We're at Unregimented on Instagram. Unregimented at ChristopherMedia.net is the email. Go to ChristopherMedia.net. Hit the PayPal button. Subscribe. Be like Dawn. And hey, you know what? We have another fan. Brenda. See, we can name our fans. But she's always, she listens to all the shows. She comments on the shows. So
that's why we like to keep the group tight, right? Any more than 100 people, we won't know your names.
I feel it's
we like to do audience Kegels.
Yeah, I feel it's like that episode of Flight of the Conchords when Mel had competition when they had another fan.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's why we say fan base. It makes it sound like more than one person.
Yeah. Hit the PayPal button, hit the Amazon banner. That's how you can help us out without spending any extra money. And we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, the iHeartRadio app, Spreaker.com. Where there's a podcast, we are there. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love. Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.